Welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. We're doing great thanks to you, so please hit subscribe, watch, comment. I want your comments. There's a lot to comment on, and share with your friends. Let's build the community together because the chaos, it's not stopping. I mean, think about yesterday. Yesterday, Trump called President Zelensky, a dictator during an investor conference in Miami. If you don't believe me, let me show you. Play the clip.
Like a fiddle. He played him like a fiddle. That's an expression we use, yes, sir, to say that he's pretty easy. A dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast or he's not going to have a country left. Got to move fast.
Yeah, a dictator. Imagine that. Talking about no elections. Imagine that. Now, I want to show you how senators, Republican senators as well, are reacting to this statement. Play the clip.
I would certainly never refer to President Zelensky as a dictator. It is quite clear who started the war. It was absolutely Russia at Putin's directive.
I do not agree that President Zelensky is to blame in any way.
Thank you guys. President Trump just weighed in that he...
By Russia.
I didn't hear that. I'll let other people use their words. It's not a word I would have used.
Could you call Ukrainian President Zelensky a dictator as President Trump has?
Well, I like I said, the president speaks for himself. What I want to see is a peaceful result, a peaceful outcome.
I mean, we're talking about Senators Murkowski, Collins, Graham said something about it. Kennedy said something about it. Tom Tillis said something about it. I mean, is Trump even here going a step too far? That's the problem. We never figure out. See, they'll say something to the camera and say, I don't see Zelensky as a dictator. I don't agree with that statement. President Trump is entitled to say whatever he wants, which is true. He can say whatever he wants. The question is, what the hell are they going to do about it? We already know that Democrats are doing things about it. They're screaming from the rooftops. What are these folks doing? Now, Caitlin Collins had Representative Eric Schmidt on her show, and she asked him about Trump's comment. It's really wrong. Play the clip.
But when Trump says a dictator without elections, I mean, is that a more accurate description of Putin or Zelensky?
Well, look, I think he was stating the obvious, which is Zelensky ought to have elections and stop lecturing the American president who's trying to bring peace to his country. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people have died. There is no end game here. There's no strategy for victory. So I think President Trump's doing exactly what he campaigned on, which is to bring peace. So I just think it's a flawed strategy by Zelensky. And President Trump, I think, is right to point out that they need to hold elections. I mean, Churchill learned that he lost at Potsdam. Abraham Lincoln ran, against a former general in the Civil War. So if you want to be a paragon of democracy, if you want to hold yourself out there as that, you got to sort of abide by that. And I think, by the way, part of the point of J.D. Vance's speech in Munich, too, was just to say, if you want to be a democracy, you got to live up to those principles and believe in free speech.
Yeah. Amazing that he can actually go on live television and spew that sort of bullshit. It's fascinating to watch the fact that he's so spineless, Eric Schmidt, that he is so lost in the cult of trying to kiss Trump's ass that he's willing to turn around and to say that what Trump is saying and doing is right. Imagine if another country, which was more powerful hypothetically than the United States, invaded us, and that more powerful country told us, well, here's what you're going to do. Imagine this. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to give up all the territory. It's about 25, 30% of the country. And you're going to give away your mineral rights, 50% say to Russia, 50% to America. And they're not even going to invite the American president to the table. And you want to talk about Zelensky being a dictator? Seriously? Now, Caitlin also asks him about holding an election in Ukraine. Again, fascinating stuff here. Play the clip.
Or how do you hold an election in Ukraine right now?
Well, we do it. We had it in our Civil War. We had an election during
But
World
we're
War
not having
II.
missiles falling on American cities right now, and half of our young men aren't on the front line.
It's just hypocritical to claim that you are a true free democracy when you're unwilling to hold elections. I think that's the only point that President Trump was making. But again, this is all sort of, I think, noise. Ultimately, a lot of it's just going to be depending on how this thing gets settled. President Trump, I trust him. He's a master negotiator, and he's going to, I think, he said in the clip, right, that he loves the Ukrainian people, and I think that's what he's doing this for.
You just talked about...
Again, I would like him to answer the question. How do you hold an election? It goes back to the Civil War. And I love Caitlin's response. You didn't have missiles and rockets flying over your head, knocking down buildings legitimately or whole streets in one split second. Now, again, during this investor conference that Trump went to, he continues to rail on Ukraine, continues to rail on Zelensky, and continues to even rail, including in that conversation, former President Joe Biden. It's amazing. Play the clip.
But think of it, a modestly successful comedian. President Zelensky talked the United States of America into spending $350 billion to go into a war that basically couldn't be won, that never had to start and never would have started if I was president, not even a chance. And it didn't start for 4 years, never would have started. But a war that he, without the U.S. and Trump, will never be able to settle. They'll never settle that war without our involvement. That's why they did such a great job this weekend. That's why Saudi Arabia did such a great job this weekend in hosting. The United States has spent $200 billion more than Europe, and Europe's money is guaranteed. They get their money back. It's a form of a loan. Nobody knows that. I know that. I said, why isn't somebody saying, we do it the same way? And we spent much more money. We have to equalize. But while the United States gets nothing back, so they get their money back. It's a loan. We just give our money. And we had a deal based on rare earth and things, but they broke that deal. But they broke it 2 days ago. We had a deal because I said, we're spending $350 billion, and Europe gets their money back in the form of a loan, and we don't. We're just giving the money hand over fist. That's the Biden administration for you.
I would like to actually see that document. I'd like to see how Ukraine is going to ever pay any of this money back. Ukraine has maybe $1 trillion worth of just repairs to towns, to buildings, to the communities that have been decimated. How is Europe getting any money back? And is this really about money and, in the eyes of Trump, a transaction? This is about promotion of democracy over autocracy. Or then again, maybe Trump doesn't want that. But he does turn around and say that he loves Ukraine conditionally. Play the clip.
Satellites. I love Ukraine, but Zelensky has done a terrible job. His country is shattered, and millions of people have unnecessarily died. And you can't bring a war to an end if you don't talk to both sides. You got to talk. They haven't been talking for 3 years.
Yeah, because Russia has been invading Ukraine for 3 years, shooting missiles and rockets into communities and towns, along with thousands and tens of thousands of soldiers. How do you talk to them? The first thing he turned around and says, get out. They said no. What else is there to talk about? Trump also goes on and he speaks about Russia. Get a load of this. Russia running ads in America. Play the clip.
And $21 million for voter turnout in India. What do we need to spend $21 million for voter turnout in India? Wow, $21 million. I guess they were trying to get somebody else elected. Well, we ought to tell the Indian government, because when we hear that Russia spent about $2 in our country, it was a big deal, right? They took some internet ads for $2,000. This is a total breakthrough. $21 million for India election.
Yeah. Again, would like to see the basis for that statement, because we know that Russia spent more than $2,000 in Facebook ads and so on, a lot more in terms of misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation over our sites. Now, my friends, I want to end on a clip of Laura Ingraham, Fox News, speaking about Ukraine. And I want you to pay attention to the lower third on the screen, okay? The lower third on the screen, affirming Trump's claim that Zelensky is in fact a dictator. Play the clip.
Remember, they threw everything they could at Russia. They threw sanctions, $200 billion aid and weapons to Ukraine, lapel pins were everywhere. Members of Congress are wearing them. They told us in the summer of 2023 that summer offensive was going to run Putin out of Ukraine. Well, of course, that didn't happen. They told us that sanctions would cripple the Russian economy, and they were also wrong about that.
Trump won't bow to dictators. Top right corner, gigantic photo of Zelensky. Again, it's whitewashing reality. It is providing misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. That's what Fox News does. That's what Laura Ingraham is doing right then and there. Let me be very clear. Whether you like Ukraine or not, whether you believe that the United States should assist in the funding that war to keep Ukraine's democracy alive over Putin, irrelevant. Nobody in Ukraine sees Volodymyr Zelensky as a dictator, as an authoritarian. I wonder if you can say the same thing about people in Russia. I would suspect the answer is no. You make the decision for yourself. Who's right here and who's wrong? And as always, thanks for listening. Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.